Hi, welcome to Opening Flow. Today we're looking at loosening up tight hamstrings in particular. So tight hamstrings can be something that can feel really frustrating with yoga. Whether you're starting out your practice or whether you've been practicing for a while, there are lots of reasons why hamstrings can get tight. If you've got a job where you're sitting a lot, they can get tight. If you do lots of running, they can get tight. If you do lots of cycling, they can get tight. You know, it comes from all different lifestyles, and sometimes just naturally you'll find that you've got tight hamstrings, tight legs. So it's something that I've certainly had to work through in my yoga practice. So I really understand how frustrating it is. And if you're in that situation of feeling like, you know, I'm the only one in my class who can't touch my toes, or I'm the only one who can't do this thing, you know, please know that yoga is really great for opening up the hamstrings, and it just takes time and it takes a bit of patience. So you know, don't expect this to come in one go. But if you're consistently doing hamstring sort of opening flows, if you're consistently doing yoga, it will come. So just trying to do little and often is the best way to do it. You know, if you can fit in yoga, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times a week at a minimum, then you'll start to notice that your hamstrings will gain a little bit of length, and it will come. So yeah, so stay with it. I promise you it'll be worth it. So today, props that'll be useful. A strap, and you want to have that close by, so getting that nearby at the beginning. A couple of blocks if you have them, and a couple of cushions. So grabbing together a few little bits, and then we'll come to start lying down on your back. So this can be any position that's comfortable. You can keep the knees bent if you want. You can allow the legs to be out straight. Hands can be out by the side, or they can be on the belly. So whatever feels sort of natural, whatever feels comfortable for you, having a little shuffle around until you get to somewhere that feels good. And then starting today by allowing the breath to enter your body naturally and leave your body naturally. So whatever's feeling normal for you, whatever feels comfortable for you. And taking a moment to observe your breath. So maybe noticing if it's shallow or deep, if what parts of the body are moving as you breathe in and out. Paying attention to what goes on for you individually as you inhale and exhale. And maybe you'd like to take a little moment at the start of class today to set an intention for yourself. So maybe thinking about what it is that you want to take forward in class today. If there are feelings that you know you carry with you about your hamstrings feeling tight, about how this affects your practice, you know, maybe there's a phrase or a word that you want to have to take forward. Maybe it's a word like open or release, or maybe it's a phrase like, you know, be kind to myself, you know, do this practice without judgment. Whatever it is that you feel that you need, allowing yourself as you inhale to breathe in that intention into your body. And taking a couple more breaths wherever you are, whatever's feeling good in your body today. And on your next inhale, taking hold of your strap, opening it out, and we're going to come to do some really, really gentle opening of the hamstrings of the inner and outer thigh as well. So bending your right knee in towards your chest, and then taking the strap and looping it around the ball of your right foot. And then really, really slowly beginning to straighten your right leg out towards the back of the mat. So taking your foot away from the body. So not worrying about lifting it high at this point. And getting yourself organised with your strap. And then as you inhale, allowing the leg to rise only to the point where you begin to feel a stretch in the back of your leg. So if you're already feeling a stretch quite early on, then feel free to leave the leg quite low down. There's no kind of goal that you're aiming for here. This is just working with your body. Seeing if you can hold onto the straps as far away as possible, so close to your body, as far away from your foot as possible, so that your shoulders can stay on the ground. So if you've got a long enough strap, seeing if you can allow the shoulders to stay on the ground and the chest to be open. And then you go until you find that place just where you begin to feel a stretch, so not to where it's super intense, being really mindful of not overstretching the hamstrings at this point. So whatever that's looking like today, you've probably got one leg that's tighter than the other. And then hold in at that point, and we'll stay here for a few breaths. So maybe you want to close your eyes, breathing into any tight spaces. If at any point the sensations feel too intense, please allow your leg to lower a little bit. So again, like listening into your body, making sure that you're taking it just as far as it wants to go today, not any further. Haven't warmed up the hamstrings yet, so they're likely to feel a little bit stiff, and that's okay. So this is a really nice opener that you can do at any time, even if you've just got a few minutes at the beginning or the end of the day. If you've got a strap, it's a really nice way to open up the hamstrings, have a couple of minutes lying down on your back, maybe put some music on. On your next exhale, opening up the leg to the right hand side, so opening up the inner thigh here. So really slowly moving over to the right. Again, it might not come over that far, listening into your body. And you take the foot as far over to the right as feels good, and then taking a few breaths here. So keeping that left hip grounded down, the left shoulder grounded down, so they stay on the mat, and the right foot is the only thing that moves. So these exercises with the strap in particular are things that I really started to bring into my yoga practice and just kind of into my my daily life, and it really made a big difference to my how my hamstrings felt, how they felt in practice. I can really, really recommend it. And the plus is you get to lie down and relax at the same time, which is so much better than most of the other stretches where you have to be standing up, leaning against something or balancing. So yeah, definitely a nice way to stretch for sure. On your next inhale, coming back to centre. And then we'll go across the body over to the other side. So you might find that the right hip lifts a bit here, that's fine. And obviously if you're in a small space, like, I've got my foot hitting the wall here, but you might need to kind of have a little shuffle around and move your body, so whatever you need to do. So you'll notice here this actually gets more into the right hip, so this might not be a tight area for you, or it might feel really, really tight. This kind of part of the body is notoriously tight for a lot of people, so it can be nice to open that up, because if you've got tight hamstrings, you quite often have tight hips, tight lower back as well, so you kind of get a 2-for-1 when you're doing this stretch, because it opens up all these other bits of the body as well. So seeing if you can breathe into that right hip space. Maybe as you exhale, actually visualizing extra space arriving in that area, the muscle fibers, creating space, moving a bit further away from each other, becoming less tight. On your next inhale, using the straps to draw your leg really carefully back to center, taking one last breath with your leg in the center. And then when you're ready, bending your knee and removing the strap, allowing that leg to come down to the ground. You can take a little shuffle with the legs if you want, and then coming over onto the other side. So drawing the left knee in. I nearly brought my right knee in there, and popping the strap around the ball of the left foot. So straightening the left foot first of all to the back of the mat, so not worrying about lifting the leg. And then when you get there, then you can begin to lift if there's space and if you want to lift the leg any higher. So you're lifting really slowly, really mindfully, trying to keep the shoulders and the chest open as well, holding on low down on the straps. And taking it just to that point where you begin to feel a stretch. So this is kind of that point where you're on that borderline between it feeling like an intense stretch and it not feeling like a stretch. So you're not wanting to go for anything massive here. So hamstrings are one of these areas of the body that if we ask them to do too much too soon, it can kind of feel all right at the time, and you may have already experienced this yourself, or you've been to a yoga class or something else and you've thought, oh, I was able to touch my toes or whatever, and then the next day, your hamstrings feel tighter than they ever have done before, and you think, oh my God, like this feels so much worse. So if that's ever happened to you, that's normally a sign that you've taken it a bit too far on that day. You've overstretched them a little bit, and then the next day the body's actually saying, yeah, you've got to back off a little bit from that. So the aim with this class is to take the hamstrings just to that point where they're beginning to feel a stretch, but not to the point where tomorrow you're going to end up feeling like they're really uncomfortable. So just adding length really slowly, really, really gently, and just about consistency, about doing this kind of thing often and regularly. So taking a couple more deep breaths into the back of the leg here. Breathing in some space into whatever tight areas you're feeling. And as you exhale, allowing the leg to open up to the left. So again, you might need to have a little shuffle. So I'm having a little rest on the wall here. But yeah, arranging yourself so that you can get the full opening, whatever it is that you need. And bearing in mind it might feel really different on this side. So it's totally okay if this side feels a little tighter or if it feels more open. Keeping the right side of the body grounded down. And then breathing into that inner thigh space. So another space that can become really tight that we're not always aware of. So allowing it to open up. All of these muscles work together as a group. So when one's tight, it affects the other ones. So using the strap in this way just allows the leg to and the hip to open up fully, which is really good for the body. And then taking a couple more breaths here, breathing into that inner thigh space. And then on your next inhale, drawing the leg back to center really carefully. Exhale, coming across the body, opening up that outer left hip. So again, coming across as far as feel good. It might be that the left hip lifts a bit from the ground here, and that's fine, but just keep the left shoulder grounded if you can. And breathing into that outer left hip space, maybe closing the eyes, maybe visualizing that hip opening up, a bit more space being created. And taking a few more breaths here. So it's worth saying that if you're doing this class in a morning, then your body's likely to feel much tighter and the muscles are likely to feel much shorter than if you're doing it at the end of the day. So you will notice that there probably is a difference for you depending on what time of the day you're doing your practice. So if you are ever doing practice in the morning and you're thinking, oh my God, like I feel like I can't, I can barely move, you're not alone there. That's a really, really common feeling, and you will loosen up. Your muscles will get a bit longer during the day. So yeah, just bear that in mind. It can be really good to do these first thing in the morning just to allow the body to get a bit of openness, and you'll find if you do them later on in the day, it will probably feel a bit easier. Okay, on your next inhale, coming back to center really carefully using the strap. One more breath in center. And then bending the knee, removing the strap, taking the strap off to one side. And you can have a little shake with the legs. Drawing both knees into the chest when you're ready. Option to rock up to seat from here if you'd like, or you can roll over onto one side and come up. So if you're rocking up to seat, beginning by allowing the legs to come slightly over the head and then coming into a little rock. So maybe taking 2 or 3 rocks, and then in your last one, seeing if you can come up to seat. Once you get there, however you get up, bringing the feet to one side, hands underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips, coming through a few cat-cows, finding yourself in tabletop position. So drawing the spine long, gaze down in between your hands, seeing if you can get the crown of your head reaching away from your tailbone. As you inhale, pressing through the hands, allowing the hips to rise, rippling through the spine, chest comes through the arms, maybe the gaze rises. Coming into cow. As you exhale the other way, so tucking the tailbone, rounding through the spine, tucking the chin, coming into cat. So taking a few of these at your own pace, inhaling to open and expand through the chest, and exhaling to tuck and round. So warming up the spine, ready for practice. This is a really good thing to do, particularly if you get lower back pain. I really recommend this being part of your yoga practice every time you're practicing if possible. And if you have time to do a few of these each morning, then it will really help if you find that you're prone to getting any lower back pain. And coming back through. So coming back through your final time, when you're ready, inhaling back to neutral. And then tucking the toes under, coming into your first downward facing dog. So pressing through the hands, lifting the hips, keeping a really generous bend in the knees for now. So starting off by focusing on allowing the spine to be long and the head and neck to relax. So gaze comes between your legs to the back of the mat. Pressing down through the knuckles of the 10 fingers. And then if you'd like to, you can begin to pedal the feet, sort of getting feel into opening up the hamstrings, or you can stay with the knees bent. So if you're pedaling the feet as you exhale, bringing the right heel down, so it doesn't need to touch the ground, but just moving the heel down, coming up onto the left toes. Inhale, coming up onto both toes, and then as you exhale, the left heel comes down. Inhaling onto both toes. Exhale, right heel comes down. Inhaling up onto the toes. Exhale, left heel comes down. So you can stay pedaling the feet for a couple more breaths if you want. You can stay, if you know you've got one leg that's a bit tighter than the other, you can kind of hold for a little while in that one place. But moving really mindfully, using your breath, you can keep the knees bent if that's better. And then whenever you're ready on your next inhale, walking the feet really slowly up to meet the hands. So if your hamstrings are tight, you can come up onto fingertips here, or you can even allow the hands to dangle. And we'll come into a forward fold. So it may be that you want to start off with the knees bent, bringing the hands to the ground. So in forward fold, the head is heavy, gaze is kind of coming, either between the legs or at least, towards the back of the room. It may be that you like to take a ragdoll, so put one hand inside each elbow, and then allow your body to hang. Maybe you want to take a little sway. And then that kind of begins to really gently open up into the hamstrings. It may be that you want to bring hands onto your legs and allow the upper body to be heavy. You may like the hands to dangle. So there's no pressure here for the hands to have to come to the floor with the legs straight. Often it can feel in yoga that that's what needs to happen because it's what other people are doing. But actually forward fold is about allowing the upper body to be soft and relaxed. And then the legs can be in whatever position feels good. So they can be bent, they can be straight. It's whatever you're feeling. So this is a pose where you can really do whatever feels good for you. So feel free to stay with that ragdoll if that's better. On your next inhale, bringing either hands to shins or hands to thighs, you're finding a position where you can draw the spine long. So the gaze is coming straight down. The crown of the head is towards the, the front of the room. You're coming into halfway lift. So the crown of the head to the tailbone, trying to find a nice long spine there. So it may be that being in a higher up position feels better, or it may be that shins feels okay. And then exhaling, finding your way back into your forward fold. So whichever variation you feel like. So bending the knees or ragdoll. Inhaling, coming back up into your halfway lift. So hands to shins or thighs. Gaze is down, drawing the spine long, opening and expanding through the chest. Exhaling one more time into your forward fold. On your next inhale, really slowly rolling up through the spine, coming all the way to stand. Reaching the arms to the side, up overhead, fingertips reach towards the sky, and then bringing the palms together in front of the chest. So let's come through a little sun salutation together, and taking this at your own pace, whatever feels good for you. If you've got blocks, allowing them to be handy near the front of the mat. Inhale, reaching out to the side, up overhead, palms come together. Exhale, hinging at the hips, coming into your version of forward fold. As you inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins or thighs, gaze comes long. Exhale, bending the knees, bringing the hands down by your feet and stepping one foot and then the other back into plank. Taking a breath, holding in plank. If you'd like to, you can bring the knees down at any time. So reaching out, crown of head to the heels, keeping the body long, keeping the belly and the spine engaged. And then lowering the knees down, untucking the toes, bending the elbows, lowering all the way down to the ground. As you inhale, coming up, peeling up from your breastbone into either baby cobra. So in baby cobra, keeping the, just taking a small little lift and making sure you're keeping the shoulders away from the ears. You can hover the fingers from the ground if you want to get some work into the lower back. Or you can take a deeper cobra. If you're taking a deeper cobra, shoulders still stay away from the ears and coming up a bit higher. Exhaling, coming down. Pressing through your hands back up onto your knees, little mini press up. And then curling the toes under into downward facing dog. So finding your place in downward dog, maybe you keep the bend in the knees, maybe you pedal the feet, whatever's feeling good for you today. On your next inhale, bringing your right foot forward in between the hands. So you might want to come up onto the left toes to give you a little bit more space. And you can use your hand to help your foot come forward if you'd like. Once you get there, allowing the knee to be over the ankle, and then bringing either fists or hands down and taking a little rock back and forward. So you'll notice that as you rock back, maybe you get a little bit of stretch in that back calf. And then lowering that back knee down, untucking the toes when you're ready. So if you've got your blocks here, these are really nice. They just give you a little bit of extra height. So if you've got the blocks, bring in the blocks so that you can come up a little bit taller in your low lunge. And this is opening up the front of the left hip at the moment. If you haven't got the blocks, you'll want to stay a little bit lower down and allowing the left hip to sink down a little bit. On your next exhale, rocking back, bringing the blocks with you if you have them, and allowing the front toes to lift. If that's feeling good, you can keep them down if you prefer. And this is opening up the back of the leg, opening up the hamstrings. So if your hamstrings are feeling quite open today, you're welcome to take a forward fold here. Otherwise, keeping the body high and breathing into the back of the leg. And then taking a few rocks back and forward here. So at your own pace, whatever's feeling good. As you inhale, you move forward, opening up the front of that left hip. And then whenever it feels good, you can exhale and rock back, allowing that front leg to draw straight, lifting the toes if that feels good. And feel free to have a little play around in these. If you want to move the hips side to side, you can. If you want to stay still, you can. You'll find that as you move the hips, the stretch will move into a different part of the leg. So having a little feel for where you need the most opening, maybe staying straight feels better. So coming through one more time, if you'd like to, you can stop at any point and hold a stretch or a pose if it feels good to stay in it for a little while. So really feeling into your body and what's best for you today. And then whenever you find yourself back at the front, getting rid of any blocks, popping them down if you had them. And then bringing that right foot back into an all fours position. And we'll swap legs here, bringing the left foot forward, coming into low lunge on this side. So it may be that you want to tuck the toes under and do that little rock back and forward, allowing the calf to open up a bit here. Or it might be that you want to go straight into doing those rock backwards and forwards like we did on the other leg. So whatever's feeling good for you, whenever you're ready, you can bring that knee down, untuck the toes. And then beginning the little opening rocks on this side. So the nice thing about having the blocks is that it helps you to keep your shoulders a bit more open, you can allow your spine to be a bit longer, and your body's a bit more supported. If you want an idea of where to get some blocks, just give me a shout in the comments section below, or pop me an email and I can give you a place that I have a discount from. It's a really nice UK-based eco-friendly company. So I can always help you out with a little discount from there if you want that. So really feeling into your body, feeling into what this leg is like. Maybe it's tighter, maybe it's a bit more open. And working at your own pace. Staying in any position if you feel that that's what you need. And taking these rocks backwards and forwards. So particularly when you rock backwards, you'll notice that if you draw the left hip backwards slightly, so if the left hip is forward, you won't get as intense a stretch, but if the left hip draws back and level with the right, you'll get a more intense opening through the back of the leg. So again, this is about mindfully opening the hamstrings, not forcing them to be anywhere where they don't want to be. Just allowing them to have a little bit of extra space, a little bit of movement, and seeing what that feels like in your body. Whenever you're ready, finding your way back to the front of the mat. Allowing the blocks to come off to the side, bringing the hands down, left foot comes back into all fours, and then finding your way back into downward facing dog. And taking a few breaths here, so you can keep the knees bent, you can pedal the feet, really concentrating on finding space in the body, so allowing the spine to be long, the hips are high, don't worry about the heels touching the ground, they really don't need to at all. So just trying to find as much space and openness as you can, and allowing the head to really relax and be heavy. On your next inhale, either walking your feet forward as you did before, or if you'd like to, you're welcome to lunge the feet forward, so taking a full step to the top of the mat, with one foot followed by the other. Whichever way you come, meeting together in halfway lift, so hands to shins or thighs, spine comes long, gaze is straight down to the ground. Exhale, releasing into forward fold, so upper body comes soft, you can take the ragdoll, you can bend the knees, you can let the arms dangle. And then inhaling, rising up to stand really slowly, arms come out to the side, reaching up overhead, palms come together. Inhaling, arms reaching up to the side, up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. So finding your place here, whatever feels good. Inhaling, drawing long into halfway lift. Exhaling, bending the knees, hands by your feet, stepping back into plank. And taking a couple of breaths here, seeing if you can allow the spine to be long, reaching from the crown of the head to the heels, engaging through the core. And then lowering the knees down if you'd like to, or you can have a practice at lowering down from full plank. So either one's okay, either knees bent or lowering from full plank. Untucking the toes. And then peeling up, coming into your baby cobra, maybe having a little hand hover. Or a deeper cobra, taking care to open up through the chest, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. And lowering down, finding your way back into downward facing dog. So option to have a little mini press up onto the knees, or you can have a full press up if you want, before coming through into downward dog. On your next inhale, bringing the right foot forward in between the hands and bringing the back foot flat. Bending through the front knee as you inhale, rising up into warrior one. So hips face forward in warrior one. If it feels that your hips are wanting to turn to the side, if everything's a bit tight, then come up into high lunge instead. So lifting the back heel, coming onto the back toes. So if you come into high lunge, you'll find you get that nice opening through the front of the hip. Or if you're in warrior one, then your back foot is grounded flat. Bending into the front knee either way, hips facing forwards, arms rise up. As you exhale, arms open wide into cactus, lion's breath if you like. Inhale, arms rise back up. And then bringing the hands down to prayer in front of the heart, taking a nice step in with the back foot and drawing the front leg straight. So both legs are straight here, back foot stepped in a little bit. And then from here, coming into pyramid pose. So if you'd like to open up your shoulders, if your shoulders feeling a bit tight today, what you might like to do is bring the arms behind the back. If you've got reverse prayer in your practice, feel free to take it. It's not necessarily something that's going to feel available for most of us. So you may just want to stick with the arms behind the back. As you inhale, broadening through the chest, standing up tall, and then exhaling, beginning to fold forward. So it may be that you fold forward just a little bit, because this is quite a big hamstring opener coming into pyramid pose. You may find that you come a bit further. If at any point you want to bring that back foot in a little more, feel free. Seeing if you can keep this right hip moving towards the back of the room, so staying level with the left. Sometimes it wants to creep forward a little bit, especially if your hamstring's feeling tight. So no pressure to come down any particular distance here. Seeing if you can keep the spine long, so leading with the chest rather than with the chin. So maybe you come down part way, maybe you come down halfway. If you're feeling particularly open today, you might take a fold over that leg. There's no pressure to be doing that at all. Well, it's whatever's feeling good in your body. And really focusing on keeping the chest open with the arms behind the back, drawing the spine long, gazes down, and breathing into the back of that right leg for one more breath. As you inhale, rising up slowly, allowing the arms to come back to their normal position. Bringing the hands to prayer. And then stepping that right foot back, either into your warrior one or into your high lunge. So you might want to have a little change up here. If you did warrior one on the first, you might want to go for high lunge, keeping a bend in that front knee. Inhale, reaching tall. And then exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. So option to come and lower down either with knees down or knees lifted all the way to the ground. Untucking the toes, peeling up into your baby cobra or a deeper cobra. And exhale, finding your way back into downward facing dog. So coming through that on the other side, as you inhale, bringing the left foot forward in between the hands, coming up on the right toes if that helps, or using your hand to help you get there. And then option to bring that right foot flat to the ground. You can come straight up into high lunge if you know that works better for you. Bending into the front knee, inhale, rising up. So seeing what feels good here. If the hips are comfortably facing forward in warrior one, then staying in warrior one, otherwise option to come up into high lunge. As you exhale, bringing the arms wide, option to take a lion's breath. Inhale, arms reach high. Hands coming to prayer in front of the heart, stepping the back foot in a step. And straightening out both legs. So front leg and back leg are straight, and back leg is grounded. So if you're in high lunge, bringing that heel down. And then option to bring the arms behind the back. Maybe you want to interlace a different way. So if you had, right hand over left elbow, maybe you want to go the other way, the awkward way for this one. And option to take reverse prayer if you're feeling that. Working that left hip so it's level with the right, reaching it towards the back of the room. Inhaling, opening through the chest, and then exhaling, beginning to tip forward. So again, it's okay to come down just part way. It's okay to step that back foot in a little more. And really slowly feeling into this. This is a really big hamstring opener, so no pressure for you to come down any particular distance. You don't even have to come down at all if you don't want to. Maybe you fold over that front leg, but wherever you are, keep seeing if you can keep the spine long, reaching out through the crown of the head. Opening up through the shoulders, through the chest. As you inhale, really slowly coming back up to center. Bringing the hands back to prayer and then stepping back either into your warrior one, bending through the front knee, or into your high lunge if you'd like to take that this time. Inhale, reaching the arms up. And exhale, hands by the feet, stepping back into plank. Coming through your version of chaturanga here, maybe you lower the knees, maybe you keep the knees lifted and lower from full plank, or taking chaturanga if that's in your practice. Untucking the toes, inhaling into your version of cobra. And exhale, finding your way back into downward facing dog. Taking a couple more breaths here, really seeing if you can ground down through the fingers. Bending the knees if that's good, pedaling the feet if that's good. On your next inhale, stepping or floating or walking to the top of the mat. So whatever feels good. Maybe you take the little steps, maybe you go for the bigger steps. Finding a way into halfway lift. Hands come to shins or thighs, spine comes long, gaze down. Exhale, releasing into forward fold. And inhale, slowly rising up through the spine, arms come out to the side, reaching up overhead. And hands come together in front of the heart. When you're ready, taking a big step back down your mat and bringing the sides of the feet parallel with the mat. So making sure that the toes are not pointing out. You can have them slightly pointing in if you want, but as long as the toes are not out, keeping the sides of the feet parallel. And this can be as wide or as narrow as feels good. As you inhale, bringing your hands to your waist, opening up through the chest, seeing if you can really expand across this area, finding space. And exhale, tipping forward from the chest, so leading from here rather than from the head. And coming forward into a wide leg forward fold. So it may be that as you come forward, you find the hands can reach the ground. If they don't reach the ground, you're welcome to grab any pillows or blocks, pop them under the hands and lean on those instead. If the hands do reach the ground, you're welcome to walk them a bit further back. And the elbows are bending towards the back of the room if there is any bend in the arms. So breathing into the inside of the legs, the hamstrings, anywhere else that might feel tight. And the gaze is coming to the back of the room, so the head is heavy, a bit like in downward facing dog. So the upper body is really soft, really relaxed. And this is another quite nice pose to hang out in. I would just say be really mindful because it's easy to overstretch here and to take a little bit more in the hamstrings than maybe you should. So if it feels good to be a little bit further up, then staying a little bit further up. It's definitely a pose where I have overstretched in the past, so being really mindful of that. Taking one more deep breath here. As you inhale, drawing the gaze back down to center, so looking straight down. Hands come to the hips and rising up. Once you get there, turning the right toes out and the left toes out a little bit. And we're going to come down into a little side lunge. So you can lower down, bringing the hands to the ground. The heel can lift on this foot if you'd like it to. If it's comfortable down on the ground, that's fine. And then the toes lift on the left foot as well. So you're coming down onto the right side, the right heel can lift, the left toes lift. And then you can keep the hands to the ground. Maybe you want to have a little move backwards and forwards. So you'll find that you're getting a little bit of openness through here on the left leg. It may be that you want to try a little balance here and you want to bring the hands to prayer. So, you know, whatever's feeling good. If you want to go for the balance, then that's okay. If you'd rather have the hands to the ground and be kind of feeling into the tight areas, then sometimes that can feel really nice. Having a little rock from side to side if that feels good. And then when you're ready, walking the hands across, coming over to the other side, so bending into the left knee and the right heel lifts. So this is called Skandasana, it's side lunge. Again, you can do those little rocks from side to side. You can take the balance if that feels good. And having a little feel into what your body feels like on this side. Where are the areas of tightness? So this class is kind of, it's about opening, but it's also about discovery and being curious about what's going on in your body. So if this is the first time you've kind of done a hamstring and leg opening specific class, then it might be that you're finding new areas of tightness that you didn't know about. So just, yeah, being curious, exploring what's going on in your body and knowing where are the places that maybe you're prone to getting tight, where you're experiencing tightness. And then when you're ready, walking the hands back to center, pressing through the hands, through the feet, rising up to stand. And then turning the left toes to the front of the mat, taking a step forward, taking the feet to as wide as the mat, coming down into a forward fold. Maybe you take the ragdoll here, nice relaxing position. The head goes really, really heavy. The neck relaxes. Taking a couple of breaths. And then bending through the knees, going to come down to sit. So bringing the hands behind the body and finding a way to sit down. So if you've got a thin block or a couple of cushions here, you might want to bring these ones with you. So starting off by sitting with the legs straight out in front. So if as you're in this position you notice that your spine is rounding a little bit, if this is quite uncomfortable, then you may want to grab a little cushion or a block and pop that underneath the hips. So you can either pop it so it's underneath the hips so it's straight, that allows a bit more space, or you might want to come sit on the edge to tip the hips forward. Sometimes that helps better with that curving in the spine. If your hamstrings are really tight, it might be that bending the knees slightly feels good. So taking a couple of breaths in this position wherever you are. Seeing if you can draw up tall through the spine. And then when you're ready, drawing the right knee into the chest, opening up the right knee carefully, bringing the foot to the left thigh. And then turning the body slightly to face your left foot and your left leg. As you inhale, reaching the arms up tall overhead. So you might want to stay sitting on your block here. And then exhale, we're going to come forward, taking a wave motion first of all, and then on the last one, staying forward. So this is where cushions can be really nice for the last one, so having them handy if you'd like them. So exhale, waving forward, and then inhale, arms right up. Exhale, waving forward. Inhale, arms right up. So this can be quite meditative as well. Really working with the breath. You can close your eyes here. Exhale, waving forward. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, waving forward. Inhale, rising up. And on this exhale, option to stay here if you want, or to stay with the waves. You don't have to come forward very far. You can use cushions to come down if that feels good. Or you can stay with the waves if that feels better for you. So the wonderful thing about using things like cushions and pillows is that you can fill the space and you can support the body. If you know that you're comfortable to come down further onto, say, forearms, or to take a bind around the foot, then you can absolutely do that. But sometimes, even if you've got a lot of openness in the legs, it can be really nice to just have that extra bit of cozy support to come down on. Taking one more breath here. And then inhale, rising up. So you really don't have to come forward very far at all in that position. You can stay seated if you want. You can stay with the waves. Bringing that right knee back in really carefully and straightening it out. Hands come behind the body, a little shake of the legs. And then same on the other side. So left knee draws in, left foot to right thigh. Turning the body to face the right leg, the right foot. Inhale, reaching up towards, starting with the waves. Exhale, waving forward. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, waving forward. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, waving forward. Inhale, rising up. So these can be as small or as big waves as you like. They can be at your own pace. And then optional here, if you'd like to, on the last wave, to stay forward. You can fill that space again with your cushions. Or you can stay with the waves if that feels better. You can stay in an upright position if that feels better. So the wonderful thing about yoga is that there really isn't a right or wrong with this kind of stuff. If you're doing what feels good for your body and what your body's asking for, then you're doing it right. When I first started my teacher training, somebody said to me that the sign of an advanced practitioner was the person in the class who was best listening to their body, not the person who was doing the most advanced level of the pose. And that really was helpful to me because tight hamstrings is something that I've experienced for a long time, and it actually made me realise, I haven't got to be doing some kind of crazy pretzel move or, whatever it might be. Actually, this is about me and my body and my practice. And that really changed things for me. So I hope that feels helpful to you as well. As soon as you start listening into your body, it's amazing how quickly the changes come about because you're working at a pace that feels good for you. And you're not overstretching or doing anything that the body doesn't feel good about. And it helps look after you in here as well. Sometimes it can be hard to feel that you're getting it right in yoga if you happen to be in a class with a lot of super, super flexible people. So classes with me, super flexibility, definitely not required. So taking one more breath wherever you are, breathing into any tight areas, being really mindful to just take it to that point that feels good for your body. Inhale, slowly rising up if you did come forward, moving any props out to the side, and then drawing that left knee back in, left leg comes straight, and hands behind the body, a little shake of the legs. When you're ready, scooting up to about halfway up your mat, and then really slowly lowering down onto your back. Option here to take a happy baby. So if you'd like to take that, then lifting the feet from the ground, keeping the knees bent, and then bringing the arms in between the knees. And you can either hold on to the insides or the outsides of the feet, so whatever feels natural for you. And then seeing if you can allow the bottoms of the feet to face upwards towards the ceiling, using your hands to help draw the knees down a little bit towards the ground. So looking for this feeling of the feet facing the ceiling. Maybe you're able to get the ankles to kind of be stacked above the knees, but getting that feeling of the knees drawing down to the ground or down towards the armpits. Sometimes it can be nice to have a little rock in Happy Baby if you want to give your lower back a little massage at the same time. Depends what floor you're on. If you're on a hard floor, it might not feel quite as good. So I'm on a soft squishy carpet, so this is perfect. Maybe you want to close your eyes. And taking one more breath here. When you're ready, bringing the feet down to the ground, keeping the knees bent, and then taking a little windscreen wiper of the legs from side to side. As the knees come over to the right side, option to take a spinal twist here, allowing the knees to relax where they are. Left hand comes out to the side, gaze over the left arm, and taking a little spinal twist, opening up the body. So if you do get a tight lower back or tight hips, spinal twists are a really nourishing, really healthy way of looking after your spine. And you can always pop cushions underneath the knees if you don't want to take the knees over as far. As you inhale, allowing your head to come back to center, and then the knees come up over to the other side. So taking your spinal twist on the other side, right arm comes out, gaze over the right hand. So sometimes we forget that in the spine, you've got all these little joints where every single vertebrae is. So these spinal twists allow that movement through the spine, which helps to keep it healthy, allows all the vertebrae to move, looks after the synovial fluid, so the spinal fluid in between the vertebrae as well. And twists are also really good for digestion. So another nice little 2-for-1 with this particular pose as well. So you're looking after your spine, really good for spinal health, and then also really good for digestion too. So if you're prone to getting, constipation or IBS or anything like that, spinal twists are really, really, really good. And then as you inhale, head comes to center, knees come to center. Preparing for Shavasana here. So option to take Shavasana in a supine position. So this is lying down on your spine, so on your back. So it might be that you have knees together. It might be that you open out. So kind of in the position that we started off in. So if that feels really good, then feel free to take your Shavasana here. If you've got a wall nearby, you might want to scoot up to the wall and do legs up the wall instead. So that can be a really nice pose. It's also really good for circulation. So all you're doing if you're bringing legs up the wall is bringing the hips to the wall if you've got one. So you might want to come in from the side first of all and then turn the body around. And then bringing the legs up the wall, and then arms can either come out to the side or they can be on the belly, they can be up overhead. So if you have got a wall, you might find that feels particularly good, or if you've got a sofa, you might find that that you can kind of prop your legs up on a few pillows and get into a nice position with the sofa. So, you know, there are lots of options here, but it's just an idea of something else that you could do for Shavasana as an alternative. So, yeah, always good to find a position that feels comfy. This can be nice because it opens up the backs of the legs a little bit in this position. You don't have to have your hips right by the wall, they can be a bit further away, but your body's able to relax. So you're kind of continuing that work, opening up the back of the legs. So once you found yourself into your comfy and cozy position, allowing the eyes to close, and maybe taking a moment to notice how your body feels. How does it feel different now to when you started class today? What do your legs feel like, your hips, your lower back? And checking in with that intention if you set one. What was that word, that phrase? Maybe allowing yourself to inhale that, breathing it into your body once more. And as you exhale, letting your body start to melt down into the earth. Feel it supported by the ground. Can you find more spaciousness, more comfort in the position you're in? If you were able to really listen into your body today, then maybe saying thank you to yourself for allowing yourself to go at your own pace, to do what your body needed. Taking a few quiet moments in Shavasana, opening up your body, melting down. If you're able to stay in Shavasana for a few minutes longer, giving yourself permission to remain in this restful pose that you've chosen. I hope you've enjoyed this opening flow today. and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Namaste.